Hello world, my name is Max Stein and I love Sega.
I'm the Megabuck. I really love video games.
My name is Raph. I also love video games.
Hey friends, Vinny here, and I love video games.
And welcome to the Game Treasure Podcast, where we discuss treasure video games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Warning, the Game Treasure Podcast is not for children or anyone with a brain for that matter. Today, we have an excellent show for you, dear listener or viewer. Only games of yesterday today, basically, because we are doing another entry in our Console Carousel series. The subcategory of episode that we do, where we take a given video game console and then we each select our 5 subjectively favorite video games from said console, so as not to be yelled at by you, the viewer, about what is objectively the best.
Oh, that's
and today
fun.
We're getting yelled at.
That guy
Yeah. Stomp on my
by the
cue.
internet. I have anonymity behind this keyboard.
Yes. I will hide behind my screen.
We are doing the Sega Genesis. The timeline of the episodes is, if you watch the show, has gotten goofed up. So we did like the Nintendo all the way through to the GameCube already, and jumped around. We did the PlayStation. So we're gonna rewind all the way back in time and start with Sega, and as far back as I can stomach with Sega, which is the Genesis.
That is a fair assessment.
Yeah, sorry. I know people aren't going to be like, but you missed that. And I'm going to be like, well, I didn't want to play that one.
Max, XX Weed Slayer 69XX says,
Yeah.
but you forgot them.
I've already been yelled at him, Benny, so I'm already taking precautions so as not to be yelled at by him again. But yeah, with this, it's a console that I didn't have much info, like, peek behind the curtain. I love telling you guys stuff. Mm-hmm. We were first going to be like, let's do 3 games each, because I didn't really have much experience. And then I jumped into the Sega Genesis like online thing for the Nintendo Switch, and I gotta say, Sega Genesis is pretty fucking cool.
It's so
ended
nice
up
to
falling
have
in love.
that, right?
So I was like, let's do 5. I was like, I can pick 5 games out of here that I really like. But before we get into our carousel of games, I think the Megabuck, our in-game historian, has some interesting things to say about the Sega Genesis.
We're
Buck,
warming up here.
inform us, sir.
I know. The Sega Genesis, a.k.a. the Mega Drive in Japan and other parts of the world. One of my favorite Jeopardy questions, right? What is a band, a book of the Bible, and a video game console?
What is Nintendo?
And what else?
Oh, sorry.
The lady said Nintendo. So, 1989, 4 years after the NES, over a year before the SNES here in the States, but most importantly, over 2 years before the Super Famicom, the Sega Mega Drive, the Sega Genesis came out in Japan, 1988, right? And so that's one of the biggest misnomers we have here, because they went head to head with Nintendo, especially during the Super Nintendo era. But this console wasn't made originally to compete with the Super Nintendo. It was made to compete with the regular, as us kids said when we were little, Nintendo, once the Super Nintendo came out. Sega, during this...
it's true. That is what we called it.
You called it regular Nintendo?
Yeah,
we called it
Nintendo.
It's true, because...
That's regular Coke. That's regular Nintendo.
That's true, though. Coca-Cola. He means Coca-Cola, guys.
Nintendo Crystal. Go on.
Crystal Pepsi.
Crystal Nintendo.
Selling nearly 35 million units, and known during that time period for its really aggressive anti-Nintendo marketing. Sega does what Nintendon't, and that slow, lousy plumber can't beat our extremely fast hedgehog boy. The Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo are going head to head in the 90s. Is the console wars, as it was, will never be recreated the way that it was back then.
Oh my God. It's freaking Cartoon Express on Saturday morning. I can't tell you how many commercials. Sega does what Genesis does what Nintendo does.
And what does the Sega Genesis have? We got to talk about it. Blast processing.
Blast.
Okay.
Have you got an ass? Prepare to get blast.
Here's the fun thing, right?
That wasn't a thing back then.
No,
we were
get
kids-
your ass ready to get
Getting
blasted,
blasted.
children.
We
Sorry.
completely divulged
Blasted
from
wide
Sega
open.
information. When this came out, this marketing campaign, blast processing, was just to say, look how fast and how cool the Sega Genesis over the Nintendo, but they angled it at like the Genesis having some type of power that the Super Nintendo didn't, which is both a truth and a lie. And the craziest thing is we didn't actually find out until years later. It was actually only a few years ago that blast processing is a real thing. So I know I was surprised to learn this too. So here's the thing. It's not actually anything to do with the hardware of the Genesis being superior to the Super Nintendo. What it actually means is it allows programmers, in a nutshell, it's a technique of programming that allows more data, more colors, and complex parallel scrolling, especially since the Genesis didn't have mode 7, to be shoved directly through the processor at a much higher rate. So it wasn't actually built into the hardware. The Genesis didn't actually have blast processing, but Sonic 2 and 3 had it. Vector Man had it. Ranger X had it. A handful of other Treasure games had it. Thunder Force. So there were a handful of Genesis games that could actually do. If you're playing a Genesis game and it blows your mind, because we're going to mention a couple of them today, they're the ones that had this programming trick built in by the programmers that had figured it out.
Blasting
Wow,
my mind open.
that's what blast processing is.
Go ahead, Rap.
This tech, so it exists on the cart then, not necessarily on
It's all software.
Right.
It's nothing
It's
to do
all
with hardware.
software.
It's nothing different. Sonic 2 doesn't
Okay.
have a different chip in it like the Super FX chip does.
This is how it's
I
written.
see.
It's
All
a
right,
way
that's
that it's
interesting.
programmed and rendered. But it was said that
Wow.
back then, one of the programmers tried to explain this to marketing, and marketing went, we heard processing and we heard blast. That sounds really cool. We're going to use that.
Cool. Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, I was saying I have to go blast the toilet, and then but before those weren't related. No, you said it. I heard you say blast
Jimmy
and processing.
said he had to
We're
process
writing
what
that
you
down.
just said. So.
Yeah.
All right. I want to dive into some
He has
hardware.
to
real
process
quick
our
for you.
lunch order.
That's right. Yeah, the intern. I want to jump into some hardware here for you. Here she is.
Okay.
The Mark 1.
Wow.
The Model 1 Sega Genesis. This big old
I want to
chunky
get
boy.
everyone's vibe check on the look of the Genesis versus the look of the Nintendo. I'm going to say it. It looks cooler.
It looks like a spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
They did that on purpose because they wanted
hope
it to
so.
look cooler than the Nintendo. It's funny because they say the Super Nintendo only has the bumps and the raises on it because they wanted to stop kids from putting drinks on it and spilling drinks in it because that was their number one hardware repair at Nintendo of America. Kids would put their soda on the Nintendo because it's a block, it's a brick, right?
So they had like a carpet or whatever,
How
and they
about
couldn't
that?
balance it, so they put it there.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they spill and ruin the Nintendo and the carpet. Good job, little
know.
Jimmy. You're an idiot. You're
pretty much. So there's a lot going on with this guy. Number one, I want to point out, it works with all the Genesis games. You'd think that would be a thing that's not important, but it's going to be important in a minute. It plays all of the games that the Sega Genesis can play. It's got an expansion port on the side here that you can pop open to plug it into the Sega CD, both versions of the Sega CD. Of course, you can put the Sega 32X in it. It's convertible with that. And more importantly, that you guys didn't care about, but I do because the console's amazing. This console is compatible with the Sega Power Base converter, which lets you play Sega Master System games on the Genesis.
okay.
If the Super Nintendo had that, holy crap.
And the Master
doubt.
System, explain the Master System.
The Master System was the predecessor to this console. It was the console Sega made to go up against the NES, which was actually
Gotcha.
like games like Double Dragon. I think I've talked about before. Like I
Yeah.
feel cheated after seeing the Master System version versus the NES version because it's so much more superior.
Right.
This console only offers stereo sound through the headphone jack in the front. It's mono otherwise in the back here, but you could
Okay.
play with headphones and you can actually adjust the volume right on the console here. So you could go into stealth mode and play your Genesis at night when your parents had told you to go to bed to be up
That's
early
really cool.
the next
That's
day.
right. I never knew that. You could do that on
But then-
32X, but I didn't know you could do it on Genesis.
And you get the
Or,
stereo sound.
CDX.
But then we-
Ah.
Yeah. Well, then we go to the Model 2. Slightly more form factor, little thinner, but the same design,
that's
right? They
beautiful.
basically just chop the piece off the
I
side
think
here.
this is the one that I actually recognize, like from
Mhm.
my childhood.
The Model 2. Couple of different things here. It still works with the Sega CD 32X, the 32X and the Sega CD. you can put the power base on this one, but the plastic kind of runs into each other, so you'd have to take the shell off. So nobody did that to play
So
it.
no. Yeah.
No. They removed the headphone jack in place of the video audio output. Supports stereo sound now, so you get stereo at least from the console itself, right?
Okay.
It does work with the Sega CD, but it just looks kind of funny because it's shorter. But anyway, great one. But then we have this guy, which came out. Oh, sorry, I forgot our timeline here. So 1989 is the Model 1. 1993 is the Model 2.
Are you holding what I think you're holding?
Yeah. What year did the PlayStation 1 come out?
95, I want to say.
1994, 95. In 1998, Majesco licenses with Sega to produce the Genesis Model 3.
Oh,
damn. What the fuck?
That's not what I thought you had.
Which is the size of like 2 Genesis cartridges. If you guys aren't watching your Spotify video now, it's a teeny tiny thing. They changed the ports. They changed the ports. Yeah, right. This was
the
4 years after the PS1 was out in Japan.
What'd that console do?
Wow.
That Majesco. It wasn't Sega directly that made this. It was Majesco. But changed the ports yet again. Changed the power adapter yet again. No headphone jack. No stereo sound. They took all that stuff out. Ironically, not ironically, but silly. You can't use a Game Genie on this one. The Genesis Game Genie doesn't work. It's a hardware thing. The way the board changed. If you really dive into these, between these 3 versions, there's like 13 different board iterations with these Genesis. Like the way they changed, and they changed hardware, and then they swapped this, and they changed that, and they changed the processor. Then we talked about the sound chips changing out and everything else. This one, for also some odd reasons, doesn't work with a handful of Genesis games. Virtua Racing, X Mutants, Time Killers, a couple others that just, for some hardware reason, don't work on this console.
Interesting.
It's very like punk rock of Sega to just try something and fucking just do it. Like just something weird. Like just hey, let's just do it.
This is one of the coolest ones for me too. I mean, this small and whatnot too. And then Venny no Shui showing off the Sega the CDX, which is this really really small Sega CD, which is also a super sexy little unit.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's one other funny little thing I want to talk about in the Genesis before we moved on. Do you guys remember those big Genesis cartridges with the ugly yellow like plastic clips on the side? They were taller than normal Genesis cartridges, mostly sports titles.
No, I don't.
Oh, sport. Yeah, now you said sports titles. I do. Yes.
That's because that was EA. You remember when Nintendo got weird about this? They had that fight with Tengen about unlicensed games. Tengen made those black carts with the weird. Sega had something similar. They had the thing called the TMSS, which is the lockout chip equivalent of what is inside the Genesis. And all those big ugly carts were EA's basically unlicensed games, and them going around it saying, we're not going to go through your system. We're just going to make our own anyway. We don't need that. They eventually came to an agreement and then started reverse engineering some things, so much so that like Zany Golf in particular, there's 2 versions of it. There's the pre-unlicensed and the post-unlicensed, kind of like Gauntlet and Pac-Man for the NES.
Wow. God bless you, EA, you bastards.
That's rad.
Yeah, back then they were dicks.
Just kidding. What about Bible Adventure? Is Bible Adventure on Sega Genesis?
Hey, Buck, do you remember when we played Supreme Warrior 32X Sega CD combo? Yeah. Was that the Generation 2 Genesis, or was that the big one? I want to say it was because little funny story for you guys. I was over at Buck's once, and I was showing him this Sega CD game, Supreme Warrior, that nobody had ever like been able to figure out. I was like, oh, I can beat that game. Bullshit, you can't beat that game. Nobody knows how to play that game. I knew how to play that game.
It was fun.
So I'm doing a full playthrough for these guys, just killing it. And you get to a point where you have to change the disc. Well, when you have the 32X on top of a certain Sega Genesis, you can't get the disc tray open.
It was this Genesis in particular. With a Sega, I forgot to bring my 32X. Sorry, I have one at home. With a Sega 32X sitting on top, which is a giant like bulb up here. And it was the version 2 Sega CD. The version 1 is on the bottom and it has a tray. The version 2 is on the side and has a flip-up lid. And because of the 32X being so chunky, when we hit the flip-up lid, the CD tray only opened up like this wide. So we couldn't get the disc out and put the other disc in.
Game over, man. Game
over.
If
you took the blaster, the thing out.
If you took the 32X out, the game would freeze up. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we tried.
It had
because you get because the video RAM on those FMV games on the system itself was so bad. It was so grainy. But if you had the 32X, you got an expanded, RAM allotment. So the video was much more crystal clear.
Right.
Which is the whole reason for doing the double. You'd have the cartridge and the CDs. Wow. It was really cool. And
that's what happened with most of the 32X games that came out, because it just upped the memory. They had larger sprites, higher frame rates, all those kinds of things too. Like Raph was mentioning, there weren't a whole lot that took advantage of it, except for like, say, Doom, for instance. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about that parallaxing of sprites and things that it could do, because the Genesis doesn't have a mode 7 access like the Super Nintendo did. And so they were using those software tricks to try and, when games like, Star Fox and Donkey Kong Country and some of these others with levels doing all kinds of, neat layered effects and sprites shrinking and growing in size and like F-Zero and things like that, they had to figure out software tricks around that because they didn't have access to that on Genesis. Genesis developers didn't have access to that.
And I mean, am I crazy? And because like I was watching like some of these games as I was playing them, and like I noticed that the frame rate, I mean, obviously I was playing on the Nintendo Switch emulator that's on there, but a lot of these it seemed like a lower frame rate than I'm used to like playing like on a Super Nintendo or an NES.
Completely depends on the game. That was
I guess. Okay, right. Yeah. Maybe it's
just the Genesis didn't have that processor, I believe, wasn't quite as. I'd have to compare the two of those. Actually, I know the nerds out there are going, no, I compare them. It's 15% better than.
Well, I guess I say that because it almost feels like
the audio and the other things.
Some of these games feel like they're doing stuff that they almost shouldn't be able to do. Like, I mean, we'll get into it when we get into the list, but like a couple of the games do some really.
I think it's just them.
Go ahead.
It's the moving faster that Buck was talking about. Like Mario can only go so fast because of how fast it can scroll the background of the screen.
Right. Okay.
But since this game can access its memory faster, it can have Sonic move faster against the backdrop.
Yeah.
When the software is forced to do so.
And it moves so fast, but has like the graphical, limitations of the 16-bit console. And so I don't think it has a lower frame rate per se. I think it just feels choppy because it's moving so fucking fast.
Right. He goes Ultra Instinct, and then my ass can't fucking see it.
It goes Ultra Instinct,
and then I can't see it anymore.
That is, I love Sega. I wish they still made really, consoles, honestly. And I think now is a perfect time to get into our Sega Genesis console carousel. So I will go first, gentlemen. I'll give you my top 5 subjectively favorite games from the Sega Genesis. I just wanted to preface that, like I said earlier, I didn't really have much exposure to this system. Buck has had these consoles since I was a child, but we didn't have nearly as many games as he had for the Nintendo and then the Super Nintendo. And so it just sort of fell by the wayside because
we were definitely Nintendo kids.
Didn't want to play the same 5 games over and again when he has literally 100 Nintendo games or whatever. You know what I mean? Like a fucking
regular Nintendo, not Super Nintendo.
So regular Nintendo. And so it's I treated this whole thing, like I said, I went on the Nintendo Switch Online and I treated that thing like UFO 50. Like I just tried every game for a couple of seconds. If I did not like it at all, I'd scrap it, and if I liked it, I played for a couple of minutes. Some of them I played for a couple of hours and was just like, damn, you know what? This is a good console. And like when Buck said, if you compare it directly to the Nintendo, it's better than in the Nintendo, man. It looks better and it sounds better.
Yeah.
It has like a different art style because of, I don't know, the way computers and programming work. I truly do not understand, but I think the Genesis is pretty fucking dope, and I would want one of those little mini ones that Buck has. I would play the fuck out of that bad boy on my CRT TV. It's perfect
almost
size.
The PS2 was out.
Yeah.
So
let me start here. My number 5 game that I have chosen is developed by Sunsoft in 1992, Super Fantasy Zone. Ooh. So Buck had turned us onto this game before. I think he may have brought it as like
I brought the GameCube
some version of it. Yeah, as a retro zone one day.
Yep.
I don't think I'd ever played it before, but it feels like a game you'd find in UFO 50. It's a side-scrolling cute-em-up shooter where you play as the most adorable pre-Sonic logo for Sega, which is a little ship with feet and wings, and it's you. There's the coolest thing about it to me that makes it stand out still is that it's. I wrote it certainly feels like it's not a roguelike, but it certainly feels like roguelike games were inspired by this game because it's got money that you collect from killing the bad guys, and then you visit shops to get different items and weapons and movement upgrades. And so different times you play it, it'll play differently and whatnot. And, it's I don't know. I'm not a hugest fan of shoot 'em ups, but it's really cute and has cute music. And then the store thing made it refreshing where I was like, oh, I'm going to get the laser now and see what the laser does. Now I'm going to get the smart bomb. Now I'm going to get the, what are you going to say, Vinny? I see you.
I knew I'd seen this game somewhere before. You can play this game inside of Yakuza 0.
Yes.
At the arcade.
Fuck, man.
I don't think it's super. Wow. I think it's original Fantasy Zone, but yep, I played the crap out of this game inside of Yakuza 0. That's
magical.
Love Sunsoft, and I think this is a pretty good addictive game that you could dig into over time. Super Fantasy Zone number 5
does look like
number 4. My number 4. I'm gonna pick a game that I didn't play until this emulation, developed by Sega in 1995, so long after Sonic had been invented. Rystar.
Yeah,
this was a fun ass mascot platformer.
Yeah. It's like the gecko of the Genesis.
Oh.
It feels very much so.
It's
like
really
they're
fun.
Trying to re-hit that Sonic. You know what I mean? It's you play as a guy with anime eyes who's got cool attitude, and he steps his foot as he waits for you to take your turn.
Vibes.
You just described the whole Sega Genesis.
It very much has
honestly,
Rayman.
Yeah. So it's a platformer where the main, like you jump around obviously and grab onto things or whatever, but the main mechanic revolves around this like stretching of your arms. You press the A button or whatever to have Rystar stretch his arms out, his little cartoony unnoodle arms, and you can interact with different objects in the world. Like you interact with these poles to like make himself like begin spinning. You like build momentum by pressing the directions, and he flings himself across the level. Or honestly, the best thing to do is you grab enemies and he just like slams them against themselves and sends them ping-ponging across the level like crazy, and they'll hit other enemies and shit. And I was like, damn, that was cool, Rystar. But it's just a serviceable platformer that looks good on the Genesis. I'd say if your friend had a Nintendo and was playing Mario and you had Rystar, he'd be like, fuck, Rystar looks cool. But it is what it is. I'm going to go right to my number 3 because this game is very fucking cool. Developed by Game Freak in 1994.
Yeah.
Pulseman.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So when you play this on the Switch online or whatever, it'll be Japanese text because this game apparently was only released in US via the Sega Channel, which is that like early version of online streaming kind of that Sega tried. I don't know, Buck, if you know much off the top of your dome. When
we were kids, Epcot, it's the only reason to go to Epcot for Disney, had a whole section up front with technological innovations, aka 1/3 of it was the Sega Genesis. And you got to check out the Sega Channel. When we would take field trips there as kids, I would just go straight there and play Lion King for like an hour.
That fucking rocks, dude.
Hell yeah, dude.
So Pulseman is also a 2D platformer. There's a lot of shmups and 2D platformers for this console and beat 'em ups. So it's a 2D platformer where you play as this little chibi-headed guy who is awesome looking. He has a fantastic design. He looks like he looks like Proto Man from the Mega Man EXE anime. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. He's got this like red horn thing. He looks like a superhero mascot. It's awesome. And the graphics are fantastic. But you can jump, you can attack, and you have this button that if you're like me and you don't have the manual to read, you're like, I have no idea what the C button does. When you start the level, you're like, it does nothing, I guess. But then you begin walking around in a direction, and after a certain amount of space, like you pass, he'll begin running. And like this electrical effect will appear all over him. And then if you stop running, he'll just like continue to be like electrified up, like he's all powered up. And it powers up your moves. So your attack turns in like from a melee attack to like a thing that he throws out. And he says this cool anime line. Or you can use that aforementioned button that I didn't know what it did to like turn into a little Sonic the Hedgehog, frankly, style like ball of like lightning. And he bounces all around the level like a ping pong ball or like a pinball. And it's like built into the like platforming of the game. Like there's parts where you have to like get running, jump start, jump over this thing, and then jump and then pinball in order to get to this high up area, and then jump down, and also you kill enemies when you do it. And so I don't know, it was just really fucking cool. I was like, wow, this is a badass mechanic. You also have these like wires that you end up traveling through as that little ball of light, and you have to do these sort of like little puzzle things where you're like and you're zipping between these electrical wires.
That's cool.
It was really fun, and I was like, I can't believe I never heard of this. I can't believe Game Freak made this. This is a kick-ass mascot puzzle platformer with a cool mascot being the most important thing for mascot platform.
There were some great ones that we just didn't get over here.
Straight up. I was like, this one could have taken off. Sonic 2 comes in at my number 2 spot. I don't got to tell you who developed this bad boy, and I don't got to tell you much about this game. The reason it is not my number 1 game is because I think number 1 is the absolute best. But Sonic 2, man, they're all interchangeable. You could pick any one of them to be pretty much good. But this one introduced Tails, and I am a little brother. And when Sonic 1, you can only watch Buck play Sonic. Sonic 2, you get the literal like little brother mode where you are not in control of the game. Buck is still basically playing, but I am able to float around and quote unquote be on screen, if you will.
You help kill the bosses.
Yes, there you go.
That's
I help
true.
kill the bosses.
Tails is very effective.
Can you grab onto Tails and I could fly you? And I would help Buck get to the top platforms of the, if you know anything about Sonic, there's an up track and like a lower track, and the higher track has the rewards on it. And this game also is home to my, outside of Donkey Kong Country's entire soundtrack, my favorite video game song of all time, which is Chemical Plant Zone. It's just the best retro game song. It's so goddamn funky.
It really is.
There's rumors that, Michael Jackson, it was helping them make the music for this game. Or the third one, yes. It's just like, I don't know. Go play any of the Sonics. They're all fantastic. I like Sonic and Knuckles as well, of course. But like I said, this one introduced Tails, so it has a special place in my heart. But the number 1 game for the Genesis, and we don't like to be redundant if possible, but I think these guys might also agree with me here, is a game that I didn't really play very much as a child, but I played a lot just the past couple of days, which is developed by Treasure. This is actually their first game.
Treasure makes all their games are great.
Look at their wiki. It's good shit on there. I had no idea. I'm talking about Gunstar Heroes in 1993.
Good choice, yeah.
This game beats ass. It's just straight up the best Genesis game. It's like, whoa, man, this is a Super Nintendo contender for sure. So it's a 2-player side-scrolling shoot 'em up game that definitely inspired Metal Slug. Had to have been. It feels so tight. Like when you go up to enemies, Metal Slug, you'll slash them with the knife. In this game, if you hit the shoot button when you're close to an enemy, you fucking grab them and chuck them across the level, and it's fucking awesome. You can jump in the air and then do a diving attack move where you like become flat and will hit enemies this way. There's a slide move that you can do. At the beginning of the game, you and your partner choose your like mode of fucking like shooting. So the 2 modes are move freely and shoot while you move, or stop when you shoot and shoot in all 8 directions. So if you're a Metroid person, you might like one over the other. It's just cool to have the choice that early on in gaming history. And then you get to choose like what type of gun you start with. There's a flamethrower and a homing gun and a this, and it's like, that's cool. And then there's Mega Man style, 4 different levels for you to pick. And there's like, which one do you want to do first? And it's like, that's fucking cool. And then when you're in the game, the coolest thing is that you have 2 slots for guns, and you can rotate your guns. So you can use, when you have 2 guns, you can use one or the other, or you can put them both together and make like an amalgamation bullet that's a combination of the 2 different types of guns, bro. I was like, this is a game that if you could come out now, and I'd be like, this is fucking awesome. Like if you just upgraded the art, I would absolutely play Gunstar Heroes right now. I did it all this weekend. It was awesome. So yes, this game I think is objectively, come at me on my subjective list, the best Sega Genesis game of all time. Gunstar Heroes.
If you're more of a N64 kid than a Genesis kid, try their follow-up game from Treasure for the N64, which we did get in the States also, Mischief Makers.
Oh, yes, the chick with the white fist, right? Yes, iconic iconic cover to a game in Blockbuster that you're just like, I don't know if I should pick that up. You should have.
Well, if you played Gunstar Heroes, you should have picked it up.
Yep.
Wow.
She also grabs enemies and then body slams them and shit. So cool.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Good list. Good list.
Mm-hmm.
Give us your quick Genesis carousel, sir.
Not too funny. I actually had another treasure game on my list, Alien Soldier, honorable mention for that one, but it got booted for a surprise game. Okay. Number 5 on my list, the Danger Room has gone haywire and all the safety constraints are gone, according to the manual at least. Talking about the first X-Men game for the Sega Genesis. I guess it makes sense now. And I don't know if I read the manual as a kid, but you start off in the Danger Room and that's how you select your character. And you find out later it was Magneto. He's fucking with the Danger Room and that's why. So you're having to get to the bottom of it. But the coolest thing is in this X-Men title, because of that, you get to go to all these different locales, including like Days of Future Past, without it being timeline confusing because you're in Danger Room simulations. That's why you go to the Savage Land. That's why you go to Excalibur's West Coast Tower. That's why you go to all these different places. 4 playable characters you have available to you: Cyclops, Gambit, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler. This was a 2-player game. It's a very hard game.
It is 2-player?
Yeah, this one was 2-player, I believe, and I believe it was one of those ones where it was even harder when it was 2-player. I could be mistaken on that, but you did get bonus characters you could summon. You could get Iceman and some of these other characters to show up inside of it. But I mean, come on. As far as a choice of X-Men goes, I mean, those are the 4 you get a choice from. Cyclops, Gambit, Wolverine, Nightcrawler. Holy crap. Number 4, Splatterhouse 2. Boy, am I a sucker for horror games. Splatterhouse 2 was based on the arcade and TurboGrafx game, obviously, and then it got a sequel after this too. But Splatterhouse 2 is almost like the first one, but like overall improvements like all over the place for this as a console release. It's got awesome narration. The Mask is taunting Rick the whole time, telling him where to go, what to do. The elevator level's a bit of a slog. I think everybody that plays that will kind of agree. It's got an elevator level. You know, you're probably going to hell in it, which is cool because it's Splatterhouse. and I think when you beat like the next to last boss, you watch your girlfriend get dragged down into hell too, which is pretty wild for a
bummer
console game. But it just tells a really good, scary story, especially when it's really just a beat 'em up in disguise, right? A gross one at that.
You get to play as Jason.
Number 3, pretty much, yeah. Number 3 is the Castlevania game that you never played, Castlevania Bloodlines.
Dude, this game beats ass. I did tap into
It's so good. Okay, so I did own this as a kid. I remember playing it quite a bit as well too. But if you think any of the other Castlevanias are hard, then holy crap! Like hold on to your whip, dude. This game is more fast-paced than 1, 2, 3 or Super is. It's definitely got more on pace with like Symphony of the Night before that. It has multiple character choices. You have a choice from John Morris and Eric Lecard. It's funny because I knew about the whole Eric Lecard story with his relation to Belmont's blah, 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 whatever, how it goes. But I never got the John Morris reference until I did a little digging on this title to bring it to this episode. John Morris is a reference to Quincy Morris, the Bowie knife wielding Texan from the Bram Stoker's Dracula novel.
Oh,
wow. Cool.
I didn't know that character
tied Castlevania
existed.
lore into Bram Stoker lore. That character is in Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it's played by Billy Campbell, a.k.a. the Rocketeer.
Wow,
about that?
Dude, what?
That?
That's fucking awesome.
The weapon upgrade system in this game that almost is like a shmup type deal where you get it is so good because one of the guys uses a whip, but one of the guys uses a spear.
Which you can attack upward, which is like
cool.
Is never...
Yeah, they have special moves. He'll launch himself up in the air and then do like a special attack downwards. I was impressed with the move. I was compared to the Castlevanias for the Nintendo, which in my opinion are not playable. This one was very good.
The ones on the Nintendo almost play more like I want to say platformer, but not even like platformer, because these ones feel more like a run and gun game, right? This Castlevania Bloodlines feels more like a run and gun game than it does anything else. And the soundtrack, worthy of the namesake, even though the version of Vampire Killer sounds a little weird on the Genesis sound chip. But speaking of run and gun games, I'm going to give you probably the best run and gun game for this Sega Genesis, if not this whole generation, and that is Contra Hardcore.
Nice.
I heard about this game, but I didn't get to play it. What is the deal?
If the first level of this game does not have to go this hard, and if it doesn't just like hit you, expletive, holy shit. You've got hard rocking soundtrack that makes the gems like really pop. It's a little bouncy still, but it's still so good. You've got buildings getting destroyed by sub bosses and falling over via parallaxing. You've got robots that you're jumping on top of and riding, knocking over entire sections of city. You have a giant robot in the background leveling the city with a laser beam, only to jump into the foreground, and now you have to fight it.
Whoa, it's very cinematic in that regard. Yeah,
very
it's like
cinematic,
Uncharted or something.
But through gameplay, it does it through.
Yeah.
If that first level doesn't hook you, then you don't like run and gun games.
Oh, and this has 2 player as well.
Yeah.
Shit, this one is good.
But it also has like 4 or 5 weapon slots. I think you can swap through the different weapons that you collect.
Yeah,
that's
that.
Style.
This looks great.
Yeah. In like the first level, one of the first or second level, one of the bosses you fight is literally like this robot, and your character makes it a point to point out like that's not a robot, that's a person in the suit. If you guys don't know, because of like weird UK laws, I think was the reason, Contra in particular was called Probotector when it got to like the Super series. And their sprites were slightly augmented to look like robot dudes rather than like people. Rambo and Schwarzenegger from Predator. And so they were going for more that angle. But when they did this one, you literally fight that robot, and like, a dude bursts out of the suit and is like, "Come find me if you want to learn more. I'm waiting to kick your ass," or whatever. But super fun.
Damn, nice pick.
Dope, dude.
Yeah, this looks
really
cool,
so good. Dude. It's like the best Contra game, I think. And my number one, I did a bait and switch on you guys. We haven't talked about this in roughly 118 episodes. Probably one of my favorite Sega Genesis games, Home Alone.
Hell yeah, dude! Yeah, baby, let's go!
Wow, that is the very first episode.
Dude,
when I say I played X-Men, I played Home Alone more. And funny story, one of the kids in our neighborhood, looking at you, Justin Miller, I let him borrow my Sonic and Knuckles, and I borrowed his Home Alone. And a couple weeks later, he was like, "I thought we traded, not borrowed." And he had like sold it off at the flea market or traded it off to another friend. So I had to buy another copy of Sonic and Knuckles for us. But I discovered one of the best movie licensed games ever. Certainly one of the best ones for the Genesis.
Dude.
If you guys go all the way back to episode 1 of the Game Treasure podcast, which is literally 2.5 and 115, 120 episodes ago, we talked about this game. Look, yes, it's a movie tie-in, but in the best of ways. Yes. You know the premise. The wet bandits are coming to the house and you're going to set up traps. You're Kevin McAllister. But what if all of the houses in the neighborhood where you're at were going to be robbed and at your disposal to show up at? So it has a setup period for trap, a la like Tecmo's Deception. It has run variety because they hit different houses in different orders, like a roguelite. And it has the fucking crafting system on top of all that by collecting all of those items. So you get the variety of the house styles because they're all different layouts and they're all different types and they're all different types of security systems. I remember getting better and better and playing on the harder difficulty. The base game, you only have to fend off the wet bandits for like a total of 20 minutes throughout all the houses. But on hard, in the most difficult, it goes up to 40 minutes. So you have to learn the possible order they might do the houses in, because the first thing you have to do is go to a couple houses and set up traps, but you're never able to get to all of them before they start hitting it. So it's almost like a speed run where like, oh, I picked the colonial house and they hit the tech house first, trying to scrub my run. Like literally it's like a high score kind of game because you have to keep them to win, air quotes, you have to keep them at bay for that long. But if you can only keep them at bay for 35 minutes, get a high score, I mean, that's just... And the crafting system, don't get me started, man. Take a radio and a rubber band gun and electric wire and make like a sonic gun and the different stuff that you can do.
I'm going to say a ray gun or some shit. Yeah, literally.
It didn't
and
need to be
let us not forget the sledding in between house to house alone. And the music that plays during that moment is what a jaunty tune. I love it so goddamn much.
That game has all the pieces that if someone were to make an indie title today, like this game, It wouldn't have to share that same theme. It could be something else. It would be a blast to play with the variation. Put that in like a Dead Cells style, and
you could give it a mini map, and then boom, the problem solved.
You play that game. Go into it with an open mind, and you'll be blown away.
Amazing pick. I'm so glad you changed. All right. Very good. Nice carousel, sir. Raph, go ahead and hit us with yours real quick.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to kind of go through them pretty quickly, mostly just because I have even less experience with the Genesis than Mac does. So my first one is going to be a weird one. It's kind of a nostalgia pick, but I'm going with my number 5 is T2, the arcade game. Look it up if you need to, because it actually took me a little bit of digging to find this again.
You need to. What?
Yeah. Look it up, yeah. It's it is a I don't even know what it's like a shooter, almost like a light gun game. I don't know if
those were like rail shooters, is what they considered those.
Right.
It was. I don't know if there was an actual like light gun for the Sega, because my friend didn't have this. I played this with a controller, and it was fucking hard.
I don't know if that game supported it though.
Okay. Well, this one, my memories are a little foggy on this one at best, because I was very young when I played it, but it's probably one of the few games on this list that I actually have nostalgia for. Me and my neighbor used to play this all the time at his house. I just remember, like, when I looked it up, I saw footage of it, and I was like, I remember sitting on the floor on his carpet, because we would play video games on the floor back then a lot, a lot. You'd have the CRT on the floor or in like a cabinet, and then play it on there.
Short cord.
But yeah, man, this game actually, like, watching the gameplay of it, I was like, this actually looks really cool. It's got really big, good looking sprites, very detailed. Really, that has that signature parallax effect that I think just about like every game that I played for this had, and I'm really thinking they really wanted to show that off. They're like, we could do this, check it out. Like, it's really cool. I don't have a whole lot to say about this one other than it gives
really good port.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good port, and it gives me good memories from my childhood, so that's why it's my number 5.
2 players is fun.
My next one, my number 4, is Shinobi 3.
This game's good too, man.
I'm sorry?
This game is good. I played it as well this week. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this game kicks ass. I actually played this one for the first time, honestly, preparing for this. I didn't play this one growing up, but all I have to say about it is straight fucking ninja action, dude. Like, it is just straight ninja action all the way. It had a lot more mechanical depth than I expected from a game that came from this era. You have, like, contextual attacks based on your location. You have a jumping, dive kick, wall jumping. You got a sprint that is fucking awesome to, like,
amazing
run up,
to sprint in a game from this era, yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. You got a high jump. You got that double jump. There's a high jump where you like, I didn't even know you could do this. You hold up and then you jump and then you do this like extra jump. It's really cool.
Yes.
It looks gorgeous. This had really big sprites and so much parallax. This is the one that really, like, I noticed it the most on this one. There was like that, I think it's the second level where you're running, and like in the background, or like you're on, I don't remember what the hell you're on, but like on the background, you see the dudes running ahead of you, and then they and land right in front of you, and then you have to fight them.
You're on a horse.
That's what it was. Yes,
and you're right, and there's people in the background, and
they'll run up, jump up to the layer that you're on, and then you have to fight them. It looks really fucking cool. The sky in the background looks really cool. And then the soundtrack. The soundtrack is insane for this game. The only way I could describe it is funky cyber ninja. Like, that's the only words that describe what this is.
It's really good.
It's really dope. Shinobi 3 kicks ass. I'm probably going to keep playing that one, honestly. I had a lot of fun with it. I kind of made this list based on how hard I had to, like, pry myself away from it when I was playing them. Like, if I didn't want to stop playing it, I was like, all right, it's going on.
That's pretty good criteria.
Yeah,
that is good criteria.
Which you're going to be really surprised at my number 3, because it's Echo the fucking Dolphin.
Echo is just so, like, it's so mysterious. You just want to know more.
Okay, so I've got things to say about this.
It's how Buck learned as a child. He has thalassophobia.
You know what? It is a very scary...
No. That game was just scary as hell.
Well, like, like you said at the beginning of this game, like, you're asking yourself, like, why the fuck am I playing as a dolphin? Why did my family get sucked into a portal? And also, like, how do I get out of this first area? Like, when I played this as a kid, I couldn't even get out of the first area because I didn't really understand how the mechanics work and whatnot. But I played it as an adult recently, and I understand video games more. I speak the language, I have more patience now as a almost 40-something-year-old man.
Oh God, that last boss.
I really, really enjoyed it. My time with it. Again, it's one of those. I almost found it relaxing. there's just like this certain weird like sadness to it now when I played it. Like when you run into NPCs and they speak to you in like cryptic dialogue that doesn't really make sense. It's kind of scary. There's one dolphin that says to you, I know nothing of your pod, which made me feel so alone. It was just like, I just felt so sad and lonely.
And the music too. The music is incredible, and it adds to the atmosphere of
the confusion is intentional. I realize now, like there's mystery to the world. There's strange crystals you got to unlock with keystones. There's, you have to go into the dark depths of the water. You're a dolphin. Yeah,
shit like this.
NPCs give cryptic information that's sometimes off-putting. The game is fucking hard. Combat is also like difficult and janky. The directions are obtuse. Guys, I think I like this game because it's Dark Souls.
It's Dark Souls pun in there dolphin. Somewhere that
he said combat in his dolphin game.
Combat in the dolphin game. Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's janky, it's funky, it's weird. I love this game.
Amazing.
But yeah, moving on to my next one that's not really janky and it plays quite well actually, and that's Streets of Rage 2.
Oh,
that's my number 2.
Probably in contention with Gunstar Heroes for one of the best games on
honestly,
the console.
It is one of the best games of the era.
The first Streets of Rage game that I ever played was actually 4, right? And I really like that game. I love that game. It's one of my favorite beat 'em ups. It kind of got me more into beat 'em ups. I did like playing a lot of them as a kid, but I kind of like, rejuvenated my love of them. But then when I played this, for when we did that episode on it, I realized I'm like, oh shit, a lot of the stuff that I really like about Streets of Rage 4 is straight up just copied from Streets of Rage 2. And it's done better in Streets of Rage 2. You could do a bunch of cool shit mechanically. It's got the great character designs that like become the character designs going forward for a lot of the characters. And the fucking music, guys. Holy shit, dude. This is easily some of the best music I've ever heard for a retro video game. It's got some of the coolest.
We did a whole episode on it, literally.
Yeah.
It's got like the coolest sprite work. Go watch that episode. You'll see like the cool shit that they do with the lighting and all that stuff in the game. But yeah, Streets of Rage 2, I think, in my opinion, the best beat 'em up ever made, really. I definitely think it's either in contention for or it is the best beat 'em up ever. My number 1. My number 1 is Ghouls and Ghosts.
Ooh. Wow, what a
Genesis
pick.
version.
What a kind of a weird pick.
A weird pick. Kind of a weird pick. I ended up playing this for a long time last night, and I think it's just because I really like Ghouls and Ghosts. I like it in any iteration that it's in. I don't know why I like this game so much. It's like easily one of the hardest video games, if not the hardest video game I've ever played.
Notoriously, sure.
Yeah, it's but I think it's hilarious because the game finds new ways to cleverly beat the shit out of you at every single turn, and it always is some bullshit, series. Dude. It's
that whole series.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I found myself.
It's always
a very
some bullshit, man.
It's a very trolly game.
Yeah, I ended up playing this last night for a couple of hours, and I was laughing the entire time because anytime that I would do something and I would be like, all right, cool, I got this, I'd walk like 3 feet, something would pop out of the ground and fucking murder me, and then I would start over and I would just burst out laughing. It's bullshit. It's hard. It's hilarious.
It is. You like that because it's a Souls game. Get further. Get further. Get further.
I guess it could be. It could be. I don't know. It's just the difficulty is really all it is in that regard. But I think it also looks good too. Like I like the art style of it. I think it's funny. I like the. It feels almost random. It's like you feel like you're memorizing like the level, and then the game just changes something up on you. The dudes that are in the chests like that come up like are feel kind of random too, and they'll turn you into like a chicken or they'll turn you into like an old man or something like that. And I always thought that was really funny. Ghouls and Ghosts, I love you and your stupid bullshit. That's my number 1. Let's go.
Nicely done. All right, Venny, go ahead and take us home with your Genesis carousel, sir.
Some amazing lists going on there, boys. Wow. I'll just jump right in at my number 5. That's going to be Toe Jam and Earl 2 Panic on Funkatron.
Good fun.
This was a fun one. And the themes, I think thematically, this game had just thematically it was so unique and so different and so funky and weird that made it, just really easy to jump in and kind of laugh at and just sort of enjoy yourself because it's just so strange. Like Panic on Funkatron, the namesake, is because Earthlings have invaded their home planet of Funkatron, and Toe Jam and Earl have to have these bottles, these glass jars that they would throw at the humans, and they would get sucked into the jars a la Ghostbusters, and that's how you would clear the levels. Now, that's, the basic gameplay, right? It's a side scroller, but you're like shaking trees to find presents, or if you get a trash can, watch out. If it lands on your head, you're going to lose some life. And then there are mini games. Actually, it may have been one of the very first rhythm games of all time. It was one of the mini games in Toe Jam and Earl 2. You'd put a coin in the little parking meter, and you'd have to play a little mini rhythm game with one of the aliens, like ABC, like shika boom clap clap shika boom clap clap.
Like beatbox.
I tried it a little. I didn't get that
far. It was shaka boom and clap.
Wow.
The A, the B, and the C on the controller.
It almost reminded me of like an adventure game mixed with a platformer or something.
It was the most Saturday morning cartoon action.
It was, man.
Not to tie our games together too much, but I brought Home Alone, Kevin McAllister, aka Macaulay Culkin. What's it called when you pony up the money so a game can be made, like a producer, like with the movie? With like a movie, right?
Producer.
Mm-hmm.
Macaulay Culkin is the executive producer for that last Toe Jam and Earl game that they made. He put up the money.
Serious?
He loves Toe Jam and Earl so much. He put up the money to get that game made.
That's badass.
That's hilarious. Good for him. Him and
Fun
Michael
game.
Jackson both loved video games, which brings me to my number 4 Genesis game, and that's Michael Jackson Moonwalker.
Oh, did I double tie it in? Did I double segue that without even knowing?
This game beats
Yeah.
ass.
It really does. It really does. So, like, you're Michael Jackson in the white suit from the Smooth Criminal music video, right? And, you go through these levels and there are iconic Michael Jackson songs play. I mean, such hits as Smooth Criminal, Just Another Part of Me, Bad, Beat It, Billie Jean. It was rad. So you would go through, and the game, not gonna, you can read between the lines on this all you want or not, but the game was about Michael rescuing children. And so you would go through the levels, and you would literally have to like look inside of like cabinets and closets because these gangsters would hide these kidnapped kids. And this was all themed out from the Michael Jackson Moonwalker movie. It wasn't anything like
random, quote unquote.
It wasn't anything random. It was based on the movie. It was based on
random,
the movie.
but so was the movie.
Sure.
Right. And this was prior to some new, findings that have come out. So I wouldn't I wouldn't think too hard into that if I were you.
There was a weird licensing issue in this game where in round 3, it plays Another Part of Me in most versions, but I actually own a revision 0, which still has Thriller in the game, where you can get zombies to dance on screen. They do the Thriller dance, and it plays a little chiptune version of Thriller in there, which is pretty cool.
About that?
Not nearly as many of those out there. And the only way to figure it out, if you have one, is to actually play the game and do it, because there's a couple of things that indicate that, but it's identical to a revision 1 in other ways. So I actually had to play to that level and get it. Like, yep, it's a 0.
How about that? So yeah, it was a side scroller, like spelunk through the level kind of game. And you were Michael, and you when you would rescue the kids, you would build up this energy. It's basically like magic. Whenever he would do a signature like kick, like his Michael Jackson kick,
Yeah, and he would like spray sparkle dust. Yeah,
little sparkles, and he could throw his hat. That was one of his special moves.
Yeah, I forgot about the hat.
Spin around and throw the hat.
If you had enough energy, you could do like a 5 or 6 times spin, and then it would just like stop everything, and all the enemies on the level would line up in like a line or jump on the pianos. They would all like do the.
Yep.
They would literally do a choreographed dance together as a screen wipe, with the equivalent of like a bomb in a shoot 'em up.
All the enemies would fall down.
You can get zombies to do it.
So fucking good.
Yep.
There's dogs you can make dance. Level. Yeah. There's all sorts of
it was
creatures.
rad.
Awesome
it was a trip, man. And in the very last part of the game, a la the Moonwalker movie, where he transformed to this big robot and beats Joe Pesci.
Yes.
Which is actually true. I'm not making that up.
I forgot Joe Pesci was.
You could get in, the very first level. Oh, you're never going to catch me. Big sprite of Joe Pesci and his little gangster coat comes on screen and then runs
We
off.
also tied our games together.
I was about to say, it all comes back around.
It all
Joe
makes
Pesci.
sense, baby.
It's Pesci all the way down.
90s is all
really
Pesci all the time.
Moving on to number 3, Sonic and Knuckles, the first DLC ever.
So
you
good.
could modify your Sonic games to your heart's content. Sonic 2, it wasn't 1, it was 2 and 3,
2 and
right,
3.
Buck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was
3
2
and
and 3.
Knuckles is a masterpiece.
And because 3 and Knuckles was awesome. I remember playing the fool out of Sonic 3 to the point where I had Super Sonic. I had got all the stuff
Same.
and unlock Super Sonic. But then you put
Not
it
easy
into
to
your
do.
Sonic and Knuckles game, and ooh, man. So for those who don't know, Sonic and Knuckles was a standalone Genesis game and we've talked about this before on the podcast.
Yes.
That had
A little
a
flip top, yeah.
separate flip top port on top. What's this port for? It's to actually connect your Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 cartridges to do this double stack 2-in-1 game that essentially modified Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 to include Knuckles, which was crazy. It was amazing.
It's insane.
It blew my mind that you could do this by just you take one game, you stick it on another game, you got brand new game. It's like Legos for games. It's wild, man.
I love
And
Knuckles,
if you put
too.
it on top of a Game Genie, on top of a 32X, you can travel through time.
Yeah,
The Tower of Power. Yeah, exactly. Portal to another world's going to open up. You're going to get isekai'd like watch out. Truck-kun is going to find you. Anyway, moving right along to my number 2, Sword of Vermilion.
Cool.
Now, this is a deep one. This is a dark fantasy, semi-action RPG. So imagine like a top-down single character dark fantasy RPG. You're going through towns, you're talking to people, there's equipment, there's item shops, your typical RPG accoutrements. And when you would get out into the world, there were these first person perspective, almost like arcana and not Doom, but like those like wizardry and arcana, the ones where it's first person and you're going through like maze like dungeons. That's how you would get around. And if you got to a dungeon, some of this crap was really scary because when you would get to a dungeon, sometimes it would be pitch black if you didn't have like, a certain something and you'd have to be like, oh crap, you could either feel your way through this pitch black dungeon and fight a bunch of random monsters or what. But the sound was amazing in this game. It actually had a story. When the random encounters brought you to a screen where then you could actually move your character around,
like a live action combat,
kind of a slow Secret of Mana sort of deal.
Yeah.
And it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. Like this game kind of freaked me out as a kid.
Cool. The wizardry part moves fast. Like the blast processing method
very
moves
fast
through the level
scrolling.
quickly.
Very fast scrolling.
That's fun.
It's cool.
Yes. Yeah, very, very little known game, sort of Vermilion. If you're a dark fantasy RPG guy or gal and you've got access to this kind of thing, check it out.
This one's on
You'd be
the
really
Switch
surprised.
Online.
Be surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, it is? It is part of that?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm telling you,
It's a good
you'd be
choice.
surprised you're surprised that a game like this existed back then. I mean, it's got so much going on.
Really?
Yeah, really neat game. My number 1, my all-time favorite Sega Genesis game. This may come as no surprise because my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy Tactics. Shining Force 2 for the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
My all-time favorite Sega Genesis game. This is a turn-based strategy RPG. It's top-down. It's got the map. It's one of those grid-based games, a la Dungeons and Dragons, where you can move your character. X amount of squares per. It's D&D. It's D&D on the Sega Genesis. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
It's Baldur's Gate on your Sega Genesis.
In Baldur's Gate or Sega Genesis. yeah. But it's your traditional. You can move 5 squares and then attack, and you got your little spells that do the AOE's, or you can move into melee. There's a ton of games like this, guys. But I think this might have been the first tactics RPG that I ever played, which is probably why it made such a big impression on me. It kind of rolled into me loving Shining Force CD so much. That may have been my number 1 or number 2 when we did our Sega CD list. I don't quite remember. But yeah, my love for tactical RPGs was kindled right then and there. Oh, you know what? I take it back. It was probably like Ogre Battle. That was the first one, but that one wasn't grid based. That was that was more like move on a map.
It's dudes on a map. Yeah.
Yeah, dudes on a map. Move your meeples around, move your troops around, a la Risk. But yeah, Shining Force 2, got to give top honors to that one. A personal favorite of mine because I am a huge lover of tactics RPGs. So we're gonna close it out with that one. So Mac,
it has that wonderful anime art style that the Genesis
and the music
does so good.
And the music is amazing.
So
the
good.
sound is amazing in this game. Yeah. So enjoy.
Hell yeah. All right, Shining Force 2. Very good pick. That completes our console carousel. Very good. Yeah. Thank you, Sega Genesis. We miss you, Sega, for making consoles.
Sega.
The Dreamcast next. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do our What Else You Got very quickly and go on and end our episode. See you on the other side, dear... I can't think of a good Sega pun. Dear listeners. All right, it is the end of our show, and it is time for our What Else You Got, the segment where we can bring anything to the table, be it video game or otherwise. This week, I just wanted to mention that I watched a movie. I watched Begonia.
Oh, yeah.
Which is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, who I don't know. I think it might be their first big time movie. It's got Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone in it. You guys remember when those guys were going to kidnap the governor of Michigan a couple of years ago? They had those guys had the plan to kidnap that government. Yeah. This movie came out a year after that. And this movie is about Jesse Plemons and his developmentally disabled cousin kidnapping Emma Stone because they think that she is an alien, but really she's just a corporate executive. Or is she?
Is this her with the shaved head? They've seen the trailer where they shave her head.
Yeah, it's exactly that one.
I won't even I won't go into it at all because you gotta watch it. But I just wanted to mention that Jesse Plemons acts his ass off in this movie. He's from Breaking Bad originally, but he was in Civil War. He's in a bunch of stuff now, and he plays the guy that thinks she's an alien, and he just does such a good job playing as the weird hermit guy. We're just like, this guy's kind of dangerous. So go check out Begonia. It's on Peacock, I want to say, or something like this, or you can rent it on HBO for like $5.99. The internet. Yeah. But that's all for me. Buck, what else have you got for us this week?
Man, we are pumping them out with the Super Interview Brothers. We got another episode out next couple of weeks between the guys from Ratcheteer and coming up with what do we got else? Paddle, and Pepper, from Pepper there. These guys have been so much fun to talk to. I can't believe how much fun it's just been meeting these developers and how like-minded they are, liking to talk about games. We've had a lot of fun with them on that. I have What Else You Got that merges both F1, the only sport that I actually watch, and video games. The new season of F1 started, and not to bore you with all the technical stuff, but a lot of their engine deployment has to do with batteries this year. They can hit a button, they charge their batteries up, and then they use the battery almost like a boost. They didn't know till the first race how it was going to be when the cars were against each other, and they go to the Ferrari guy mid-lap. He's in his 20s, and he's like, I hit the boost button. It's like Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like I hit the mushroom, and then in the normal F1 fashion, they do a cheeky social media post. They're really high, they're really advanced steering wheels, have tons of buttons and knobs and a full color screen on it. They swapped out his screen for a screenshot from Mario Kart. And they had the camera over his shoulder, and he looks over the shoulder and is like, eyebrow raise at the camera.
Yeah. Stupid.
I thought that was great, though.
Nice. Okay, Raph, what else have you got for us this week, sir?
Yeah, I played a game last week. So this came out in February of this year. It's developed by Porlock and published by Porlock. And the game is called Crimson Capes. It's a 2D Souls-like. And I would say this is the first 2D Souls-like that I've ever played that actually feels kind of like a Soul-like in terms of combat. The combat feels very intentional. Exploration is pretty fun. Level design is pretty good. It's got a setting that's very sword and sorcery. It's the premise is these powerful mages have attempted to take over the world, and the king basically makes magic illegal, and a class of mage killers emerge. They're called the Crimson Capes, and you have been created basically to hunt down these powerful mages and kill them. There's 4 of them that remain. and you are the leader of the Crimson Capes, and you have to kill all the mages, obviously.
The art style is
it's very
crazy
cool
looking. It looks rotoscoped.
I was going to get to the graphics about it. Yeah. So it also, in the story, it's kind of unclear in the beginning if you're doing the right thing. Like the very, very first cutscene of the game introduces this idea, and I think that's kind of interesting and cool. But yeah, the graphics, it seems to be like a 3D character model using a shader to make it look like pixel art on an actual 2D pixel art backdrop. It's very cool looking. The animation looks very smooth and fluid and rotoscoped. It looks very much like Flashback or like Prince of Persia on like the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Now you're talking
sound-wise.
language. What's the name of that one again?
It's called Crimson Capes.
Crimson Capes.
The music I thought left a little bit to be desired. It's very just sort of like standard fantasy music, but the sound effects are pretty good. You got like the clanging of swords and like slicing and crunching sounds when you get hit by like a mace or something like that. It feels really good. Combat, like I said, it feels clunky at first, but then once you get the hang of it, it feels very smooth, and it's got a lot of depth to it. You've got a lot of different moves that you can do and you can unlock as you level up. So like there's like, you know, like a kick that you can do by pressing up and the attack button at the same time. And then you can use your heavy attack to like thrust your sword at them and then like decapitate them or something like that. Very, very cool. There's like these disciplines to the that you can learn too. So like with your L2, you can do like a spinning flourish that will actually like taunt the enemy and they'll back up. And then you can like follow that up with like a stab forward or whatever. Like you can kind of like make the enemy back off by doing these special little moves. The combat revolves around parries, so that's a little bit rough. You got to like time your blocks at the right moment, and you'll parry them, stagger them. It's very much like Sekiro in that regard. If you ever played Sekiro, it kind of plays a lot like that. Excellent 2D Souls-like. It's got a really unique combat system, really good storytelling, and cool setting. I definitely give this 7 out of 10 severed heads.
Right on.
Stupid.
Good shit.
All right, Crimson Capes, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Benny, what else have you got for us this week, sir?
2 quick things. One, Slay the Spire 2. The early access came out. I think we're all playing Slay the Spire 2
so much.
You guys may have mentioned it last week when I wasn't available. So if I'm late to the party, I don't care. Slay the Spire 2 fucking rocks.
So good.
Rules.
And also the other item that's been happening around here is I have been diligently watching my wife play Donkey Kong Bonanza on the Switch 2. This woman has over 180 bananas already, which is equivalent to like the stars in like a Super Mario game.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, whenever you unlock those bonanzas, they each come with their own theme song. And that zebra bonanza has not left my brain in probably 6-7 days. Zebra. Stupid. It's so dumb. But it's not stupid. It's the joke in our home, and she has changed my ringtone to the zebra anthem from Bonanza.
Good.
That's where we're at in our marriage. Back to you, Mac.
Zebra. All right. Very good. That actually brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you so much, dear watcher or listener, for watching or listening. Do us a huge favor, like and subscribe. Share this with your friends. If you are just listening, go over to YouTube, subscribe there, because that's where we put out the Super Interview Brothers. It's a short form content, so we don't really put that on Spotify, but it's been going really well. We talked to a really nice, interesting gentleman from Russia today about his game that was very David Lynch, and I loved it. You can reach out to us with any games you want us to play, any questions you want us to read, anything at all at gametreasurepodcast@gmail.com. Head on over to our linktree/the GTP, where you can get our merch store and our Patreon. We've got some extra content on there for you to indulge in. Linktree.com/the GTP. We want to thank Crunkwitch for the use of our theme song, Clash of the Droids. You can find their music on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you can find music on the internet. And last but not least, we got to thank RetroGameTreasure.com. Owned and operated by the Megabuck. RetroGameTreasure.com is a subscription service that helps you grow your retro gaming collection. So no more hunting around town for old video games, no more guessing if they're going to work when you get them home, and no more wasted time, frankly. Instead, Buck wastes his time. No, Buck does work putting together your box of video games based on the consoles that you have at home and the video game genres and subgenres that you like. So that's a little confusing, but if you like platformers and racing games and RPGs and you own a Sega Genesis and a Super Nintendo and a PlayStation 1, only games of those genres and for those consoles will come in your box each and every month. And he keeps track of the games that you have in your collection, even from the start, if you've already got some, so that you never get the same game twice. So go start collecting games the easy way today with RetroGameTreasure.com. Until next week, though, my name is Max Stein, and I love the Game Treasure Podcast. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
Michael.
Wake up to